Welcome back to Football Unspoken. So, Josh, I've got a goalkeeping conundrum for you today. But before we jump into this one, I've got our trivia question. Can you tell me which goalkeeper has the most amount of saves in a league game?
It's David De Gea against Arsenal. That's definitely the answer.
It is David De Gea against Arsenal, 14 saves in 2017, which is a pretty ridiculous stat, to be entirely honest. So fair play to the boy. Um, but launching off of that, so clearly David De Gea was a very good goalkeeper for Man United. You don't pull off that many saves, but he was ousted for Onana. My question to you is there now a bit of a lack of shot stopping ability in the modern goalkeeper?
Well, first of all, I'm glad we're having a goalkeeper debate because similar to how in the Ballon d'Or, there's just never any goalkeepers on the voting poll. I feel like with regards to just general punditry discussions, goalkeepers don't tend to get a whole lot of love, should I say? But going back to your question, I do think so in terms of there's been this focus, this migration away from shot stopping goalkeepers towards ball playing goalkeepers in recent years, and it has come at the detriment of shot stoppers. What's really fascinating to me about that, and I know it's just an example, but that De Gea versus Onana situation is it was kind of put in this I know, frame that Onana was coming in as the better ball playing goalkeeper than De Gea, and that's why he was coming in. But Onana's been pretty dreadful on the ball as well. Is that every time he gets the ball and someone closes Onana down, he seems to start flailing and making mistakes anyway. So it's kind of been amusing to me how poor on the ball Onana has been, and it's been interesting. Um, I'll actually round out here in case this is what you're going to get to. But it's been interesting to me how David De Gea, where he's gone next when he finally did find a club. I'll just round it up there.
So in terms of it, obviously David De Gea is one of the best. I still maintain he's one of the best goalkeepers, and I do tend to agree with you. The big thing for me has been the movement towards having this ball playing goalkeeper has meant like I couldn't imagine Shea Given being in modern Premier League, and I still reckon Shea Given is one of the top five goalkeepers in the Premier League of all time. And this is to say that there are lots of goalkeepers who can't play with their feet, but I think Nick Pope is a very good example of he's a fantastic shot stopper. He was always a fantastic shot stopper, but you get a bit leery when the ball's played back to him. And I just think that coaching wise, it's got to be very difficult to split your time between shot stopping and actually trying to get them to be better with their feet, better with their passing. Because passing isn't just keep putting your foot through a ball at the end of the day; it's also having a vision to see where it's going. And I think modern goalkeepers, I would like to know if you, because my opinion on it is modern goalkeepers get away with a lot more mistakes if they can play well with their feet. And I think back to a guy named Fabien Barthez, who might have been there before you started watching football, but he was a bald French goalkeeper who was very entertaining at Man United, but his eccentricity on Football Manager would have been 25 out of 20. The guy just did silly stuff all the time. And he didn't get away with it because it was a time when you weren't expected your goalkeeper to come out of the box. Whereas now it feels like there's a bit of a shift where goalkeepers can get away a little bit more with making poor saves, poor shot stopping efforts if they can ping a ball 40 yards.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to digest here. Diving back to the De Gea things, I wasn't sure if you were going to carry on with that. What I was going to mention is when De Gea finally did find a club, he went to Florentina, and he was heralded at Florentina for his shot stopping. And he's gone back in there and instantly made a difference to their defensive efforts from that standpoint. And then to answer your next question there, or next point is, was you look at this season, right? You got Liverpool and you got Manchester City. And Man City, they're having, by their standards, a terrible season. They've dropped Ederson, who's in line as one of the best ball playing keepers in the league. You can have your debate between him and Allison, Raya, that kind of thing, but he's up there as round about number one for ball playing goalkeepers. They've dropped him for Ortega because Ortega is the better shot stopping goalkeeper. And to be honest, when you're in bad form, you probably need to the amount of shots on target against Manchester City are far higher this season than they were in previous seasons. So they need a better shot stopping goalkeeper. than Ederson. And kind of to your point, it's being found out a little bit this season in the fact that he's facing more shots than he was ever before, with Man City's possession being a little bit lower. They're coming up against more shots than usual. And you're seeing a similar, not quite as extreme, but a similar situation at Liverpool. So Liverpool this season, Allison gets injured, Callahan comes in. He has a great season, making tons of saves, not as good on his feet or with the ball as Allison is. But when Allison comes back from injury, Liverpool had a real problem. Do you let Keller keep playing because he's in such great form, shot stopping wise? Or do you say, well, we're top of the Premier League, we're having more possession than the opposition, we need a ball playing goalkeeper, get Allison back in? And the result of it was they said get Allison back in regardless of how good form in a shot stopping stance Keller has been this season.
Do you think they'll ever switch back? Do you think we'll ever see top teams not looking for a ball player, but being stoked at having a shot stopper? Because I just think that there's been a couple of examples of top goalkeepers in recent months and years making some pretty poor mistakes and then not being able to bounce back. They'll have 2 or 3 bad games with the ball at their feet, and then they're not able to bounce back. Whereas your shot stoppers, more often than not, if they have a bad game, they kind of bounce back fairly quickly because shot stopping is their main thing. That's what they're best at. Whereas with a ball playing, with your ball playing goalkeeper, you're in a situation where it doesn't matter if you can ping a ball 40 yards. If your team's playing badly, you need to save the ball, and you can't be conceding silly goals.
Yeah, that's true. There's actually another example of teams, say, trying to play nice football and being found out a little bit. The example is Meslier, however you say it, at Leeds, the goalkeeper in the Premier League last year. He's gone down with them with the Championship. He's still playing. He's made a lot of high-profile mistakes in the Championship from a shot-stopping perspective. He can still play the ball around really nicely, but you go down to the Championship, they're not interested in playing the ball around. I don't mean the Leeds players. I'm talking about the opposition. They're going to come, Brexit, tackle you, direct football, and he's struggling to deal with it. So that's also another point of the narrative. Taking this all the way back to David De Gea, that was his one big weakness, right? He came from Spain where there was ball playing, very tactical, technical kind of football, and he got clattered a whole bunch of times. And funny enough, he played in that Blackburn, his first season for Manchester United was when they lost to Blackburn. That was his first season. And I remember they conceded a corner where he wasn't strong enough to come and collect the corner. So his big struggle there was the physicality. And where that ties into your question is I do think eventually we're going to come full circle a little bit of football where we're going so far into the tactical side and possession and all of that. Eventually, someone's going to come with an extremely physical team. And I've got an example of actually a team that's doing it kind of what I'm saying already. I don't want to get too much into this because it's a separate podcast, but Newcastle, for me, the reason that they are even competing near the Champions League places is not, the technicals are good, but on a physical basis, Newcastle are such a formidable team to play against. They outrun you. They're stronger than you. You look at Bruno and Joe Linton in the midfield, how big they are. Again, we'll talk about that maybe on a separate episode. But my point is, I think it will come full circle where teams in the Premier League start getting more physical and building big teams. And then it's all good and well having your goalkeeper sitting nicely, putting passes out. But if he can't, deal with the physicality and he keeps leaking goals because of that, then there's going to have to be a revolution of some kind with regards to the goalkeepers.
Yeah, well, I think we're starting to see that a little bit in Arsenal set pieces. A lot of set pieces, to be fair. A lot of them are now taking after Arsenal, where they are surrounding goalkeepers. And goalkeepers, back in the day, I remember I remember being taught this as a goalkeeper when I was about 10 years old. And it was like, if you can't go around a man, just go through him. As a goalkeeper, you're protected. You can go through a man if they're blocking you at the end of the day. But it's not something that modern goalkeepers seem to want to do. They don't seem to want to come out and claim the ball and have that command of their area. I think that's the big thing. And I think the big thing you're losing out on, beyond the shot stopping, but having these technical goalkeepers, is you're losing out on a command of their area because they're not sure when they should be rushing out to use their feet, or when it's just a case of I'm in my box, I can now use my hands. And I do think, and I agree, that it'll have to come back around at some point because you can't have 20 ball playing goalkeepers in the Premier League. You're never going to find 20 ball playing goalkeepers who are good enough. And at the end of the day, a goalkeeper's job, beyond everything, is to save the bloody ball. Like that's their entire status in the team, is to stop the ball going into the net.
Yeah, the last thing I'd kind of say on it, which is you just made me think about this. What is the big stats keepers are rated on or valued on at the end of a season? It's clean sheets, save percentages. No one at the end of the season goes, "Cool, yeah, you got 105-yard passes off the season. Cool, yeah, you're the top keeper in the league. He's come 20th, conceded 100 goals, but he's also got 100 short passes." No one's looking at that going, "Yeah, you know what? He should have actually been at Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal this year because all the short passes." So at the end of the day, that really is, even now, not in a match by match basis, but on a seasonal basis, goalkeepers are still being rated by the goal saving statistics.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that it will have to come back around at some point. But you brought up some interesting points that I hadn't thought about. And I'm glad we kind of both agree that it might be getting a bit silly in the modern era with the ball playing goalkeepers. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you agree with us that there needs to be a few more shot stoppers around? Or are we just dinosaurs in football and need to become accustomed to having ball players all around the park? Let us know your thoughts. Leave us a comment, leave us a like. See you next time. Bye for now.